When you mention the word soccer, of course you think St. Louis. We're honoring two soccer players here tonight, both members of the United States national teams and Olympic teams. Lori Chalupny was so good when she was a little kid, she played soccer with the boys. High school, she played for Perennial Power, Nerix Hall, and the JB Marine SC. Lori was a high school All-American, a parade All-American as a junior and senior. She played collegiate soccer in North Carolina, one of the big powers of women's soccer in colleges. As a freshman for the Tar Heels, she was a second-team All-American. As a sophomore, she helped the Tar Heels go undefeated, 28-0, and they won the NCAA championship. She had 11 goals and a dozen assists as a junior. She was named the most valuable player by Soccer America. She was named captain as a senior, and under her leadership, North Carolina was 23-1-1. Playing from midfield, she scored 30 goals and 32 assists in her collegiate career. As a defender, Lori played pro soccer for the St. Louis Athletica, also for Chicago and Atlanta. Lori was a member of the women's national team, a gold medalist from 2008 Beijing Olympics, and a bronze medalist from the 2007 FIFA Women's World Cup. Because of concussions, she did not play for the national side for almost 5 years, but returned last year in 2015 as a member of the United States Women's World Cup Championship team. She retired after that and is currently the assistant soccer coach at Maryville University here in St. Louis County. Please welcome world and Olympic champion Lori Chalupny. You know, soccer is a passion in this city, and a number of outstanding players have proudly worn the St. Louis jersey and the United States team jersey. Don Droege is in the Hall of Fame class as one of St. Louis's best. He was a CBC. Well, you bring your family, huh? He was a CBC High School All-American. He was at St. Louis University All-American and played on the Billikens National Championship team. He was a first-round draft choice in the North American Soccer League and played against some of the best players in the world at the time, like Payday, Johann Cruyff, Franz Beckenbauer, George Best, Gerd Muller, to name just a few. A top-flight defender, Don played for Rochester, Washington, Atlanta, Tulsa, Tampa Bay, and Chicago in the North American Soccer League. In fact, he played in more NASL games than any American-born defender in the history of that league. He proudly wore the American shirt as a member of the United States Olympic team and the U.S. national team. He finished his playing career indoors with the St. Louis Steamers, and I remember that well. He was one of the best ever to put soccer boots on the St. Louis pitches. And if you look at his picture in the program, he's also in the Hair Hall of Fame. So tonight we welcome Don Droege into the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame.
Ron mentioned that Lori is now the assistant coach at Maryville. They have a big contingent here, all the folks from Maryville. And Don Droege brought with him the entire population of Richmond Heights. If you don't mind, Don, I think I'll start with the woman who's won a gold medal and a World Cup. Ooh. Lori, on your website, and you've always said as part of your motto was work hard and dream big. 106 caps to your credit, 106 international appearances for a country, a four-year starter at University of North Carolina, a gold medal, a World Cup. It's obvious you took your own advice.
Well, I often get asked, what advice do you have or how did you make it? And there's no easy answer to that question, but I think those are kind of two places to start. You've got to have the dream, but then you've got to put in a lot of hard work.
And as much is made about a gold medal at the Olympics, you have told me on different occasions that still to be a World Cup champion tops that.
Well, it's the ultimate for a soccer player. I grew up watching the Olympics. I love the Olympics, but for a soccer player, the World Cup, just there's nothing bigger than that. So was it this past summer? I guess it seems like forever ago now, but the World Cup victory was just pretty special. And then to come home and kind of get to celebrate with all the fans and see all the support that we had, it was just incredible.
Don Droege comes from a tremendously competitive sports family, 11 children in the Droege family, an outdoor basketball court, totally lit, a water fountain alongside because your mother didn't want you traipsing in and out of the house. You are a substantially good baseball player as well. Why the sport of soccer?
I think at that time, my older brother Bill was playing baseball, who happened to play with Lee Smith at one point there in the minor league system. And I knew I was a good athlete. I did play a year down at St. Louis University, but the minor leagues, I really didn't want to go through that. If I had the chance to do that, soccer was either you made it or break it at that time. And you were drafted by a team, you went there. If you made it, you played. There was no minor league system, whereas in baseball, obviously, you had to go through that minor league system, and I think I made the right choice.
You played with the Washington Diplomats in the North American Soccer League, as it was known at the time, the NASL, with Johan Cruyff. Ron enumerated some of the players you played against. Pelé, Franz Beckenbauer, Giorgio Chinaglia, George Best, Charlie Cook. It goes on and on and on. When did it finally hit you, or was it almost instantaneous when you got in your first game that this is an eternity way far away from St. Luke's and Richmond Heights?
Well, the first game that I played, I believe, out of college, I played in the Meadowlands against Pelé and Chinaglia at that time, and there were 75,000 people pouring down rain. So at that point, I knew I made it. The good thing about that time is that you played with great players like that. There'll never be another time in the history of soccer, and you might agree with me, Bill, that you had that type of players playing at one time. It'll never happen again. But coming from St. Louis, I think we had an opportunity because we had the pedigree here that I think when we were drafted, maybe we were given a chance to play because I think we might have been a little bit ahead of some of the other American players in the league. At that point, only two North American players had to play in the game. The rest were foreign players. So it was difficult to stay in the game, but given that chance and given that opportunity, I think it's mainly because we were from St. Louis.
Lori Chalupny played intercollegiate soccer at the University of North Carolina, the program for women's intercollegiate soccer. And Anson Dorrance, their coach, once was asked, where would you rank Lori Chalupny in the overall pantheon of players who have played at UNC? He said, well, I would say she's in the top 3, and it would be difficult to say who number 1 is. By the way, Christine Lilly and Mia Hamm also played at University of North Carolina. But what a developmental foundation for you.
Yeah, I always had a dream to play at the University of North Carolina. I grew up watching them win national championships, and that was what I wanted to do. Plus, Carolina blue's kind of a pretty color, so I was into that. But no, I mean it's an incredible honor to hear that from Anson. So many great players came before me and kind of not only came before me at North Carolina, but really paved the way for women's soccer in the United States. So some people that I really look up to in Mia Hamm and Christine Lilly and many others. But that's pretty nice.
Lori, as was mentioned, the current assistant at Maryville. Prior to that, she was at Washington University. Being a coach, is that still enough of a soccer fix for you?
Yeah, there's parts of the game that I miss, and it's kind of the things you wouldn't think. Like I miss getting on the line and running sprints with my teammates, and there's something powerful about really coming together and working towards a common goal, and I miss that. But I'm on the field every day. I love sharing my passion with these girls, and in some ways it's almost more fulfilling because you get to kind of spend time with these girls and help shape their lives as well.
Don Droege does not miss doing sprints. When you were playing, for the national team in particular, does it bear any resemblance to the current game as we watch on a regular basis? The English Premier League, La Liga, the Bundesliga. It's dramatically different, isn't it, Don?
Now, yes. I mean, I played for the national team back in '77 and '78. And that's when, after a season that you just played in the NASL, the team would get together for 2 weeks. Then you go on tour. You go down to South America, Central America, Europe. But that would be the extent of it. I mean, you might, if you played in all the games, you might get 8 caps or 10 caps as far as that goes. Nowadays, the national team obviously is together all the time. they play with each other. They get better and better as far as that goes. We didn't have that opportunity at that time. I was so proud, to represent the United States, both in the Olympic and on the national team. And I can tell you one thing that's a little bit different. That's what's going on in sports right now is that when the national anthem was playing and you were away from town, you got chills down your body. That was there in the flag and all that kind of stuff. And that to this day, that will never leave me. And I think if somebody maybe has not played away from town, have been around out of the states and traveled and played, when that national anthem is played, again, it's something spectacular that you always take with you.
I have to reference one of the Droege brothers, one of Bill's brothers, one of Don's brothers, Bill Droege, who is renowned in and around the St. Louis area as well as nationally for being one of the longest hitters. He's always in the World Long Drive Championship. He is here. Bill Droege, take a bow, would you please? There he is. Wait, did people see Bill back there? Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Keep it going for Colonel Sanders back there. But Bill, at the Sports Hall of Fame golf tournament 2-3 weeks ago, is hitting balls on a 364-yard par 4 at Glen Echo and makes a hole-in-one. Now, don't applaud. I've seen the swing. I've seen better swings on a condemned playground. But do you often get involved competitively with your brother on the golf course?
We try to get out a couple times a month. There's 4 of us that play together, and it's 2 of the Elias boys that are in the crowd here, and it's competitive, but we really don't care who wins.
Yeah.
It's what you get out of the game.
Well, listen, I wanted to save the best to last. Congratulations are in order for Lori Chalupny, because next June 24th, she's getting married to Caleb Lawson, and her fiance is here. Caleb, stand up. Don alluded to it, but in the sport of soccer, the ultimate is to represent your country. It is so terribly difficult. But Don Droege and the North American Soccer League at the time, he mentioned the infrequency with which American players played. He was always in the first 11. Lori Chalupny has a gold medal and a World Cup. 2 players of tremendous pedigree to join the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Don and Lori.
Thanks, Bill.